let's try to unpack this today. We've got this incredible stack of sources from a listener painting a truly, well, complex picture of what they claim is a global network operating kind of in plain sight.
That's right. And these aren't just, dry reports. They're deeply personal journal entries reading with the counterintelligence files. And someone says, we've been on the receiving end of this network operation for over a decade.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique vantage point.
It really is. It's an extraordinary claim.
And the source material, you can find technical analysis, real-world surveillance details, and it connects them incredibly well with individuals.
So our mission here really is to dive into this material, pull out the most important nuggets, and sort of help you navigate this complex, frankly, sometimes astounding narrative. And just to be clear, we're sticking solely to what the source provides here.
Exactly. Get ready for some surprising facts and insights, all drawn directly from the source's account. Okay, so let's start with the core claim. What is this alleged global network the source describes?
Well, the central claim is that there is this global criminal organization, the source calls it the Mafia, or sometimes the Union.
Okay.
And the material suggests this group evolved from early PayPal figures over the past, couple of decades. It supposedly grew to include people from all sorts of fields, world leaders, government officials, law enforcement, even celebrities are mentioned.
And the source doesn't stop there. They allege this network actively collaborates with specific entities.
Yeah, like and even various state intelligence agencies.
Which ones specifically?
The source names Venezuelan, Chinese, Russian, and Cuban intelligence services as alleged collaborators. The material presents it as this deeply integrated, multinational effort.
What's really striking is the source's description of this network operating like a bizarro state. What does the source actually mean by that?
It's a fascinating concept of the material, yeah. The source claims the network basically mirrors functions of a real state, but in a twisted way. They use terms like bizarro diplomacy.
How does that work, according to them?
Well, to give an example, individuals like Lamar Purdy allegedly acting as unofficial ambassadors. In this case, what the source calls a bizarro ambassador for diosdadoxi to the U.S. Even allegedly paying for legal defense for others, kind of like how an embassy might offer consular support.
And bizarro concept, suggesting their own alleged law enforcement. Or maybe, as the source implies from anecdotes, compromised police. Or just individuals acting under the network's direction.
Exactly. The material includes instances where interactions with local police seemed really unusual to the source.
Right.
The source's difficulties in filing what they felt were legitimate police reports compared to someone allegedly connected to the network, like this Phil Denning figure, being able to file false ones easily, apparently. That kind of thing really supports this bizarro state idea in the source material.
And the source also hints at a parallel economy tied to technology somehow.
Absolutely. While they don't explicitly define a full bizarro banking system, the source material strongly implies one, and it seems intricately linked to a core piece of alleged technology that they claim is central to the whole operation.
Okay, let's shift gears then and look at that alleged technology. What exactly is Elon Musk's GeoIndex, according to the source?
Right. This is where the material gets super specific and makes some really extraordinary
allegedly use this sprawling database operation?
The source describes something they call the Hell app. They also attribute its design to Travis Kalanick. The source material basically characterizes it as Uber for espionage.
Uber for espionage.
Yeah, they allege this app allows the network to coordinate millions of unregistered agents based on the specific locations listed in that geoindex.
So, capturing this index, as the source claims they did, it's not just about getting a map of operations, it's getting alleged access to their whole money system and their command center.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes that capturing this index provides tangible evidence of alleged crimes. And the big one the source points to is massive, decades-long tax fraud.
Tax fraud.
On an unprecedented scale, they claim, across multiple countries. They allege the network is failing to report income and crypto assets tied directly to this geo-index and their alleged parallel economy. The source actually states this massive alleged fraud is the primary reason why they believe the network has been trying to kill them.
That makes the alleged stakes incredibly high, obviously. Okay, now let's delve into the specific surveillance tactics the source details, because some of these are quite specific and unusual.
They really are. The source provides numerous observations they believe are markers of this network's activity. One striking pattern involves vehicles. Specifically, the alleged use of cars with statistically improbable sequential license plates.
Like that example of the sources. WDJ9.
Yes, exactly. The source gives the example of two cars running near each other with plates like TXWDJ9634 and TXWDJ9502. The source highlights the matching four-character prefix WDJ9. And they calculate the probability of finding them just randomly in a parking lot as incredibly low. Something like 4 in 10 million, maybe even lower depending on the context. Suggesting to the source it's a deliberate pattern used by the network.
They also mentioned Moscow-style parking as another visual marker they observed.
And another key pattern the source describes is location rings. They call these immune geo-entity services. The idea, according to the source, is that the network uses locations allegedly chosen for their buffer zone or geographic isolation, specifically to avoid electronic.
Sounds like this location fits this pattern of material.
Sure. The source lists examples like USI offices worldwide, Canadian Prime Minister's residence in 24/7 drive, and even a specific Chicago police station.
And the source connects this pattern to their personal experience in Katy, Texas.
Yes, they observed this abundance of churches and religious centers near their homes. And they actually propose a metric, number of inhabitants per religious acre, as a potential way to detect land that might be repurposed by the network for operational reasons, but under the guise of a protected entity.
Interesting. There's also that specific street mentioned, Valleyside Drive in Houston. What does the source say about that one?
The source points to its isolated geography as potentially fitting this immune geo-entity's pattern. But maybe more interestingly, the source notes a name anomaly. Multiple houses registered to people with the family name Williams.
Okay.
The source claims this is statistically uncommon in that specific area, and crucially matches the name of a childhood friend who allegedly worked for a Venezuelan telecom company. So the source suggests a potential connection to the alleged network activity in that location because of this name cluster.
The sources also detail how this network allegedly leverages public data and infrastructure. This includes a pretty surprising claim about Google Street View.
This is a particularly bold claim from the source, yeah. They allege the network uses Google Street View imagery and actually runs classifiers on it. Classifiers.
To do what?
To identify and display markers in the flag. They cite the NYSE flag as an example, or heads visible to windows, even the placement of garbage bins.
Garbage bin.
That's the claim. Using these as signaling or coordination points for their agents via that Hell app.
So they're essentially using everyday objects in public photos as operational coordinates.
That's the source's allegation, and it leads the source to allege potential publicity for the claim. They suggest using inside knowledge of computing systems, or maybe the ability to manipulate imagery. microplastics and heavy metals allegedly administered through food purchased from specific stores like Kroger and Walmart. They also recount vehicle sabotage attempts, suggesting the network tried to cause accidents, run them off the road.
And the harassment goes beyond just physical threats, right?
Absolutely. The source details harassment through false police reports, like that bad word incident allegedly involving Phil Denning. And that specific police response anomaly with an officer named Gloria responding to a 911 call where the name Gloria was mentioned, an observation the source presents as statistically anomalous and highly suspicious.
And the source makes a very, very serious claim about their son.
They do. The source claims their son, Marcelo, was kidnapped. This leads the source to describe himself as a prisoner of war, basically confined to their home for a significant period due to the alleged ongoing threats and attacks.
These intense experiences, according to the source, weren't just enduring them, they actually fueled a response.
Yes, the source states these alleged attacks were the very impetus for developing their own counterintelligence technology. They share details about this on spyhill.org.
And they describe a unique technique for avoiding eavesdropping. Something about cloning.
They do. The source calls it clone plus remake. Conceptually, they explain that they're piggybacking on common internet traffic to make their own communications harder to intercept. They reference their knowledge of Google patterns related to network transport layers as influencing their technique.
And perhaps the most extraordinary countermeasure presented by the source is this Robert Gates reasoning, the RGRM.
This is what the source describes as their AI whistleblower. It's presented as a machine learning model, allegedly trained on the network's specific attack pattern.
Trained to do what?
To identify high prominence targets for disruption within the alleged system.
And the source claims this AI is publicly accessible. Call it.
That's what the source states. They claim it's reachable via a public phone number, 323-918-9605. According to the source, this AI can reason, it speaks 16 languages, and importantly, it can be interviewed concurrently by multiple parties.
Concurrently.
Yeah, the source presents this as a key feature, suggesting multiple FBI agents, for example, could query it simultaneously, parallelizing their intelligence gathering. The source positions this AI as an unsilenceable witness against the network allegedly trying to silence them.
And the source has made public offers regarding their technology and data to law enforcement.
Yes, the source explicitly states they have publicly offered to donate the counterintelligence technology, the captured geoindex data they claim to have, and even personal property houses in Katy, Texas, and Calgary, Canada, some cars to law enforcement agencies. FBI, RCMP, UN Command are mentioned.
And without seeking any payment.
Without seeking payment, yes. The stated goal in the source material is to ensure this technology and data are used specifically to aid law enforcement in bringing down the network, and crucially, to prevent them from falling back into the alleged network's hands.
Okay, so let's look at some of the specific alleged players and connections mentioned in the source material. Who does the source's system or their journal entries apply?
Well, based on the source material, several key figures often associated with the early days of PayPal are flagged. People like Elon Musk, Travis Kalanick, Peter Thiel, ER, Samuel Lee Tursas.
Right, the PayPal Mafia label they use. There's also that anecdote about a specific phone call, isn't there?
Yes, the source includes an anecdote about an alleged phone call between Elon Musk and Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq is also flagged in the source material with what the source terms a high paramilitary score.
And the significance.
The source notes the timing of this alleged call relative to alleged surveillance events, suggesting a connection in their view.
The source also names specific individuals they believe were acting as agents or were somehow compromised.
That's right. The material mentions Phil Denning again in the context of the HOA and alleged false police reports, possibly using mesh vehicles. Someone called Agent Corey, or Cody, is mentioned in relation to a meeting at Camp Coffee House.
Right, the coffee shop.
Yeah, and the source notes them allegedly praising Citgo and suggesting a ring camera. Agent Jillian is referenced in connection with psychological stress tactics, doctor referrals, a meditation retreat, even a dentist. Isao was mentioned from the Google Union team, potentially involved in alleged de-indexing operations. And again, the source highlights that statistical anomaly of police officer named Gloria responding to that 911 call where the name Gloria was mentioned.
What about companies or other entities beyond this core group? Who else gets flagged?
The source material flags a whole range of entities, including Kroger, Citgo, Wincom, Best Buy, USAID offices, specific law firms like Independent Counsel are mentioned, tech company CEOs like those from Intel and NVIDIA are flagged, and as I mentioned, some communication providers the source alleges are compromised channels.
And an
mentions numerous specific locations beyond Katy, including that Campesino Coffee House setup, incident at the Western Grand Central, and Dogma Meditation Center, and specific
¿Ah? Ya voy a ver. Ok.
Estaba ahí en esta cosita, eso lo boto, ¿no?
Sí, claro, te dejo.
Sí, claro, ahora lo que hay que prender eso. ¿Te ayudo? Qué bien, muy bien.
pero no tiene que salir tanto.
No tiene que salir para nada. ¿Cuál?
La de fuego.
¿Tienes que aquí?
Desconectarlo. Para tener, o sea, tantas neveras prendidas.
Claro. Y la dejamos abierta. O con... Ajá. Y esta la vas a poner arriba.
Sí, podemos. Es que esa nevera no es muy grande, o sea, no le caen muchas cosas. Como por la forma que tiene.
Sí, yo sé.
Entonces, vamos a ver qué podemos meter.
Ajá.
Y,
Pero...
y después que metamos, vemos qué podemos arrancar.
Ajá.
Para prender, aquí.
Dice... Entonces cerramos para que vaya, coja su frío, ¿no? Entonces ya sabes que esto lo voy a botar, porque esto es permanente en tu caso.
Sí, botón.
Pero no tienes que ver la marca para comprarlo.
No, eso es un filtro, ¿no?
No, estos son kit fresh sachet de conservación.
Bueno, eso es como el carbonato de sodio.
Bueno, este es la parte de...
O sea, pero es un
Es una
dehumidificador.
sal, claro. Se puede poner carbón activado. Mira, esto apareció en... Yo no sé qué es esto. Eso era de la nevera.
Claro, porque es un circuito, ¿no?
Parece un circuito. Pero, ¿por qué no le preguntas a
Eso es por los chinos,
a ChatGPT? Yo te lo guardé ahí. Mira, todo lo que tú tenías aquí, aplicátelo. Está aquí. ¿Ok? Mira.
Coño, esa es la vaina, mamá. Entonces, o sea...
No, es que como tú sabes que viene
Bueno, pero coño, no podemos llegar a no puede ceder un poco.
Pero es para que no te lo agarren, ¿no? Aquí está, mira, si tú esto lo guardas, nadie te lo puede jorungar y ponerte en un coroto. Si no te lo saco, mira, tú le haces así, aquí está, uno,
Sí, pero tú que Gloria no sabes eso.
el libro y esto. No boté entero ni la bolsa. Ah, no, porque tú vas a cargar tu cosita en el bolsillo.
No, pero es que eso es genérico, eso es un magneto. Como aquí hay como 10 de esos.
Ah,
Aquí hay uno. O sea, te pones a buscarlos, consigues. Y
Ah,
yo creo que Gloria tiene más.
ok. Bueno. Bueno, lo que pasa es que tú eres mariposa